Is my hairline receding? Am I going bald? I've collected so many people from the internet to this channel because they ask that question on YouTube and they find me. So I want to talk more about that concept. Is your hairline receding? Are you balding? Here's my quick answer. My quick answer is not yet. How do you feel about that? I'm not saying that yes it is. I'm not saying no it's not. I'm saying not yet. How do you feel about that answer? Because that implies, when I say not yet, that implies ... question mark. It says, it's as if you're telling me, well, Nick, you're saying not yet, okay, I don't have a receding hairline yet, I'm not balding yet. Well, when, Nick, when? Tell me when. And see, that's what this channel is all about. That we acknowledge that there's no way of knowing. It's totally natural and normal to at least have your temples start going back. That's called Norwood 1. And then even in your early 20s, it's natural and normal for your hairline to form more of a V right here. Now, once you start seeing thinning happen, that's a different story. But even with the V in your early 20s, and a lot of guys, that's where they get in their early 20s, as I was definitely. By age 24, I had a noticeable V, but no thinning at age 24. And I was aware of it at the time, but it didn't really bother me because I thought, this is normal for 24. That's what I thought back 13 years ago. But ultimately, this is the thing about being in this community of hair loss. We are taking responsibility and acknowledging that we don't know when the recession will stop, the hair receding. We don't know when it's going to stop. We don't know when the balding is going to start. Because it's very normal to have the Norwood 2, the V shape, in your early 20s. It's very normal to keep that most of the rest of your life. That could very well happen. Or a year later, you could be completely bald on top. There's no way of knowing. So the chances of you having receding hairline or balding at some point in your life are pretty good. We just don't know when. So when you type on YouTube, am I going bald? Do I have a receding hairline? My answer legitimately is not yet. The fact that you're even noticing something going on probably implies you're one of the guys who's going to have something happen as far as receding hairline. At least get to a Norwood 2 at some point in your life. That's completely normal. Again, it's not until you start getting more of a peninsula, more of a strip, and then with the thinning going on, that turns more into balding. But we don't know. So what I'm saying is, demographically, if you're asking the question today, do I have a receding hairline or am I balding? The fact that you took the time to type this into YouTube and find me tell you this tells me that probably you're one of the people who has been selected in the gene pool across the world that at some point is going to start having a receding hairline or balding at some point. Otherwise, you wouldn't have even typed this in, right? So, what I'm telling you today is a good place to be, a good place to start is to acknowledge that at some point you're probably going to have more of a receding hairline and go bald. If you can accept that now, imagine how glorious it'll be if it never really happens. Imagine, if nothing else, even with some thinning I've got, imagine the chance that you could be 37 years old and still have this much hair. I mean, if I were 20 years old and I knew that I could still have this much hair at this age, I'd be pretty happy about it. Because back in my early 20s, when I saw my Norwood 2 kicking in, I thought, okay, here's the beginning of the end. I'm gonna be noticeably balding by my early 30s. Well, now I'm in my late 30s and I've still got this much hair. And once it gets a little bit longer, I want it to be noticeable. The point of this video is to acknowledge and accept that you're probably gonna have a receding hairline or worse at some point in your life. The sooner you can make peace with that, the better. The paradox is, the younger you are, the harder it is to do because you're still young. And it's hard to accept that you might be one of the guys with a receding hairline that's still dating. You're not even married yet. It's easy to hear that coming from a guy who's married for 10 years, like 2 weeks from now it'll be a decade, has 2 kids, has a job, I mean, all these things. It's easy for me to think that way. It's harder when you're young, and I acknowledge that. Either way though, can't you agree with me though, that if you can at least accept that at some point it's gonna happen to you, the quicker you can come to peace with that, the better off you are. Even if you do something to slow it down, like propecia or a hair transplant, whatever it is. Still though, there's an importance of coming to peace with that. What do you think about that? There's a comment section for you right here.